Good evening. Welcome to the summit. I am Kiguta. Speaking to us this evening is Vice President Kalonzo. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us. Let me begin with the issue of security. A lot of Kenyans are worried with the seemingly incessant bomb attacks, grenade attacks in the country, that we're just not safe. And some even go as far as saying that perhaps our security apparatus are sleeping on the job. They've not been able to foil attacks, to forestall them. Where you sit, what do you think of this situation?
Security is a very important matter, Anne, and I can assure you that our men and our women in uniform, and whose responsibility it is to make sure that we sleep and wake safe, are not sleeping on their job. I can tell you for a fact, because I sit in the National Security Committee, which is chaired by the President, that they have been able to foil very many of these attempts, and they are alert. But it's also important for all of us to know that we cannot just leave it to the security forces. We all have a duty to be conscious now, more than ever before, with our own security as Kenyans. It's always important not to take things for granted. Look around before you board a matatu, check what is what. Yeah, make sure that at least all of us are security conscious.
Disaster preparedness remains a major concern if we take a look at the responses that we've had to the last few blasts that took place in the capital. And it seems like we still aren't really prepared for that, or to handle such a situation.
But you know, I also think, even as you might want to argue that way, the reality is that whenever these disasters happen, Kenyans have a habit of getting together. And that is what happened when I was out of the country, when this Asanad's explosion took place. Let us always remain united, but I can tell you that in terms of what you call disaster preparedness, we continue to improve, I can tell you, on a daily basis. If you imagine the situation as it was in 1998, when the American embassy was first hit, everybody was running helter-skelter, and now we are ready. I think we keep on improving. The private hospitals must always also act in the best interest of the nation, because it's very painful. In fact, under the Constitution, you cannot deny a Kenyan who is injured medical care on account of his or inability to pay. They must know these things.
Private institutions must also play
their
part.
They must also play. Everybody, in the case of an attack on the nation, all of us must play our role.
Let's talk about politics. The situation is certainly heating up, and you were in an alliance, the G7 alliance, and I used past tense because we don't see you anymore there. What has happened? Are ties growing cold? Are you still part of this alliance?
I sent it to Katu, and that the colleagues in the alliance have also been, like, take the example of Honorable William Ruto. Before I left on this trip, he actually assured me that he wanted to strengthen URP. Uhuru was busy launching TNA, all right? And if you remember, because I wasn't here, you will see that William Ruto's presence at the launch was not as significant. And you also agree that because of the timings, I'm told, the Honorable Eugene Wamala was the one who was to speak. So we took a tactical move that let all of us now, first of all, comply with the political parties' act, because that was a very strict deadline. And so
but we haven't seen you in rallies since about November.
Have you seen Uhuru and Ruto together?
Yes, they have appeared on occasion much more together, as opposed to yourself and Eugene Wamalwa, and what are the so-called secret meetings because of being disgruntled in the alliance?
No, nobody is disgruntled, and disgruntlement is very strange, particularly to me. And I think it's also not fair to say that Honorable Eugene is disgruntled. All we did when I came was to have a very friendly lunch, and him briefing me on what has been happening. And you cannot say that he's being disgruntled. In fact, his main problem was being branded like he's joining the Prime Minister, for instance. So watch this space. Yeah, watch
Okay.
this space.
So
And
still family
I'll also be meeting my other friends. I'll meet them one by one. We meet sometimes without the cameras. We meet.
But on this occasion, you met with the cameras, and,
Yeah.
and more
No,
than
somebody
that,
tipped, I think, tipped to these people to come over.
other than the
Okay.
footage that independent media houses secured, was your own press. And some say that this was to send a very strong statement that you do have other options. And added to that, your close allies have said that you and the Wiper movement are willing to work with any so-called like-minded individuals. Are you looking beyond G7?
No. It all will be within the G7 fraternity. And by the way, please, it's important because I've said it before. There's nothing in writing called G7. We all are people who are like-minded, not joined by dislike of any one of us, because that is retrogressive. But people with progressive ideas who want to bring the kind of movement in this country to transform this nation, yeah, to be able to achieve our vision 2030 and to fight poverty and to fight graft. I know that people are saying, everybody's talking about fighting graft. and I can tell you that Kenyans will be hearing from me on what formulation we will put in place to deal with the problem of corruption. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, no dirty tricks. I'm personally fed up with, with, if I can use strong language, fed up with political machinations, politics of deceit. I am not at my age now.
So G7 is not a unity against Raila Odinga?
Oh, absolutely
or we're
not.
still
Absolutely
a coalition of politicians with selfish interests, each one wanting to run for the presidency, none being willing to step back and say, you know what, I'll back so-and-so on this one, since we're all together on the basis of policy.
There'll be time for that. I think it's good that you know that the final decisions will be taken on the alignment. And by the way, there are actually enough jobs for all of us. Yeah?
But you all want the top job, and
no,
that
no,
can
no.
only be
There'll
for
be
one
enough
man.
jobs, I tell you. Yeah. So
would you be willing to back someone else for the presidency?
I've said that before. I've said yes, not once, not twice. Yeah. But please also notice there must be justice. Yeah. We must also value a bit of seniority. We must look at, you know, unless one is an outright blunder, unless somebody is a disaster. All right.
Where
so
does
that you
Uhuru
cannot
Kenyatta fall on that thought? You've talked about seniority, and of course, after the president exits, you're going to be the politician with the longest-serving career in parliament.
And it is not something you want to be boastful about, because some of us don't boast. The important thing is you feel humble that my own constituents over the years, in fact, it was 27 years to be precise, on April the 10th, and they have really been able to give me their mandate and never unopposed. Every time I've had to, and this is a kind of democracy I've been trying to say all of us should practice. Politics of tolerance, politics of sincerity and honesty, right?
Let's quickly progress to what is internally disturbing the G7. The fact that William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta, very soon they're going to be in The Hague for a status conference, and after that a trial soon to begin. Do you think they should still be able to competitively run for public office? As a member, as a so-called member of the G7
I have
alliance?
commented on that subject before, Anne. I don't think I want to continue with that.
Should they run, Mr. Vice President, for the benefit of those who may have not
I
heard
don't
you?
want to comment on that issue because I've actually done it so many times before. And I think that the best thing is, going forward, people may want to seek interpretation of all these things. I don't think it is a straitjacket kind of thing, right? I've myself said, as far as I'm concerned, I wish that these things were happening at home, and I wish that everybody was able to be allowed to run, because I think it is a miscarriage of democracy, in my view, to bar people on account of things that have not been proven. I have been very clear on these issues. Therefore, I don't want to continue on that line of argument.
Finally, as you are willing, you have said you are willing to work with anyone who is, I suppose, reasonable. Are you willing to work with Raila Odinga?
I'll work with anybody who is like-minded, and that's what I'm saying. We're working with Raila.
Because you all preach
coming from
the politics of, you know, good health, fighting poverty, fighting corruption. Are you willing to work with Raila? Is that
I'm
an
working
option?
with Raila. I've just left him in cabinet.
In politics.
We are working
you know
closely
what I'm talking
together.
about. In politics,
when it comes to
the race.
party politics, I have said my own brand. And by the way, this is not a matter over which I can talk compromise. Because Kenyans now know that I stand for sincerity, honest politics, if there can be honesty in politics. I started by saying I'm fed up with politics of deceit, politics, you cannot believe anybody. You agree one thing today, tomorrow they are cutting corners. I am not into that kind of game, yeah? Whether within G7 or whether with Raila Odinga or anybody else. So the time for the leader to stand is fast approaching. And when he stands, I think the country will follow. No, that is cheap, putting it very cheaply.
It's a direct quote for you, Mr. Vice President.
No, you know, that thing, some people have tried to cause distortion on what I said. It is serious business. It is serious business. We are going in for the leadership of this country, and it is not even a laughing matter, but there will always be those cliches and people. When I spoke that time, I was actually under stress.
Well, we thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
And all the best to you and to...
Thank you, Anne.
Wi-Fi support.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. I am Anne Kiguta. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.